Hey everyone, I'm Dan Spada from the Ed Tech Show, and in today's video, I'm going to tell you what you need to know about digital citizenship. So while this video won't tell you everything you need to know about digital citizenship, my goal is to be able to give you some tools that you can put in your toolbox should you ever come across a situation where you might need them. Now, my first thing about digital citizenship is to stay positive. Now, I know that seems really obvious, but I want to tell you a little story from my own life. My son and I started a YouTube channel a few years ago because he really wanted to be a YouTuber. And we play games and we review snacks and we do all kinds of live streams and fun stuff like that. And for us, it's just a father-son bonding experience. Now, we started this when he was about 7. He's 9 today, but over the course of the last few years, we've received an incredible amount of really nasty messages. I'm putting some of these up on the screen so you can get an idea. Now, I'll tell you, when somebody attacks you or attacks your family members, that gets your blood boiling, right? You feel that adrenaline start pumping, and even as an adult, I feel that because my instinct is to defend my son. But there's 3 things you can do. You can fight back, you can ignore it, or you can respond with something positive. Now, if I fight back, or if you fight back, what's going to happen is that situation is going to escalate, right? I'm going to write something back, then that person's going to write something, then I'm going to write something, and in the end, nobody's going to feel better about the situation. Everybody's going to be angry, and you're going to be upset by the whole thing. You can ignore it and do nothing, and then that person might send a few more messages, but eventually they'll get tired because they're not getting anything back, right? You've heard the expression, don't feed the trolls. Well, that applies here because people who are writing those negative things, they're looking for a fight. They want you to get upset. Or you can respond with something positive. Now, this is the approach I usually take because what will happen is somebody will say something like, oh, you guys are terrible. You should never even be allowed on YouTube. And I'll respond with something like, thank you so much for watching. We know there's lots of other channels you could be watching. You know, we do this as a father-son bonding thing, and while we're still pretty new at it, we would love some feedback. So if you have any pointers, you could please let us know. We would definitely appreciate that. Thanks again for watching. Something like that. And then they'll do one of 3 things. So they'll either respond with something negative, and at that point, I just will ignore it, and they're not going to keep writing because it's over. They'll ignore my message and they'll just move on to somebody else that they're looking for a fight with. Or they'll actually respond with something positive. And this has happened on more occasions than you would think. So they'll respond with something like, well, you know, I think you guys could do more of this type game or something like that. And then we actually end up developing a relationship. And I know that sounds crazy, but it actually happens quite a bit. And another thing you can do is if you find yourself in a situation where somebody is writing threatening messages or writing something really negative, is make sure you take screenshots of that stuff. Document, document, document. Back yourself up with all the evidence you need should you have to report this person to a parent, to a teacher, to the police, to whoever it is that you might need to go to for help. And another thing I tell people is be a wingman. If you see somebody getting picked on online, you have a couple different options. You can hop in and actually defend that person. Let them know that they have allies. And if other people see somebody else standing up for that person, they might also get involved as well. Or if you don't want to get involved, which I understand, sometimes you don't want the target to be shifted to you. And that's an acceptable reaction. But if that happens, it's still a really great idea to reach out to somebody, even privately, and let them know that you're there for them and that you can just listen, or if there's anything you can do to help them. And sometimes just hearing that can really help a person that's in that situation. And there are some really important things to remember if you find yourself in a situation where you're being bullied, especially if it's by somebody that you go to school with. The first thing is to block that person. You can simply block them from your social media, from your phone, and then you don't even have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about responding or how they're going to respond. Simply end the interactions. Now, I know that that doesn't stop them from bullying you in school. But what we're talking about with the digital citizenship is you can prevent them from bullying you when you're in your house, when you're away from school, when you're away from those adults. Simply blocking them will stop that conversation from even happening. And it's really important that you find an adult in your life that you can trust, whether it's a guidance counselor, a teacher that you relate to, a parent, a friend's parent, somebody that you can go to if you need advice, if you need to report something, or if you're just not sure what to do. And perhaps the most important thing to remember is if you are being bullied, whether it's in real life or online, whether it's with somebody you know or a stranger, you are not the problem. The problem lies with that person. Whether it's jealousy, whether it's something negative happening in their lives, they're acting out towards you, but they are the ones with the problem. And what they're saying is not true. And you need to remember that. Their words only have power over you if you allow them to. If you let those words affect you, that's let that person win. And it gives them that ability to influence the way you see yourself. And you should never, ever, ever, ever let that happen, because you are amazing and that person has something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. And I always tell people, you can't control how other people act, but you can control how you respond, and your response will dictate how the rest of that interaction is going to go. And it's important for you to know that you are not alone. There are millions of people who get bullied every single day, from young school kids to the most famous celebrities in the world. If you go to heyugly.org, you can read some of the stories from celebrities, and you will realize that this is something that affects so many people, and you should take some comfort in knowing that you are not the only one who's experiencing this. Now let's talk about your digital footprint. Your digital footprint is any information about you that's online, whether it's pictures, videos, articles, social media posts, and these are forever. And I try to tell people this. The internet doesn't forget. The internet is forever. So anything you put online now can be accessible 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future, 15 years in the future. Now you're saying, Dan, but I can always take that down. But you know, and because you've seen this, people take screenshots of things and archive them. I see this almost every week with some kind of celebrity, with some kind of athlete, where they're getting in trouble for something they posted years ago. And even if you're not a celebrity or an athlete, people find this stuff years later. So whether it's a future boss, whether it's a future boyfriend or girlfriend, whether it's the police, whether you find yourself in any situation where somebody might be looking into you and find these posts, that can come back to hurt you. And I'm telling you this now because you can prevent it. Think before you post anything. Think before you send any kind of text message to a friend, because you might be friends now, but you never know. If that person decides to share that information, they can take a screenshot, and soon anybody in the school, anybody in the world can see what you've sent them, whether that's a picture, whether it's a negative post about somebody else. The rule of thumb that I always tell my students and my children is don't send anything you don't want the world to see. And I see this every single year in the schools that I work in, where somebody makes a bad decision, where they send something because they think they can trust the person they send it to, but that person then sends it to other people. Another really important thing to keep in mind for those of you who are on social media is, please, for the love of all that is good, set your profiles to private. And even if you're looking at me and you're like, Dan, my profile is already set to private, I'm protecting myself and my friends, make sure you check in with your friends to see that theirs is set as private as well. Because while you might be doing a good job of protecting yourself, your friends might have their stuff that's viewable to anybody in the world. And you might not be comfortable with that because you don't know who's going to these profiles. And that could have pictures of you that have identifiable information, like pictures in the background, like school shirts that have the school name on them, anything that somebody can see where they can get an idea of where you live. For more information, or at any time if you feel you need help, please go to heyugly.org. And there you'll find all kinds of help and resources, things like helplines if you need to talk to somebody, what to do if you're feeling suicidal, self-esteem tips, celebrity quotes on dating and body images, celebrities who were bullied, tips for surviving childhood, anti-bullying songs, anti-racism songs, and so much more. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned equipping yourselves with tools in your toolbox, and heyugly.org is filled with resources that will help you be prepared for these situations should they ever occur. And again, the most important thing is remember, you are not alone. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.